So I have a you know an idea. I don't know how familiar you guys are with some crypto projects and stuff like that, but there's there's something in crypto where you can own or have your own node. So I think for this to work, the games have to leave the current development that they're in and move into a new space. And for me, I think that space would have to be in the NFT space. So NFT isn't just picture art and things like that, because if we're buying these games and we're having ownership of it, when you own an NFT, it shows up that you own a piece of this project. And being that you own a piece of the project, having a node, the network is secured by the people that are on the network, that are using the network, and this is where the server like relies. It relies on everybody that's currently using it. So as long as that they have players on these games or owning a piece of the network, then the game can always be live because the players are in control at this point. Everybody's going to own a piece of the project that they purchase into. So they can never shut it down because it will always exist as long as somebody is online playing it. I don't know how they're going to pass off as far as like cost of having a server or figuring out some way to make this component work. But I think this is an idea because games pretty much have always been the same. Once we left the cartridge era and we went into the CD era, and we left the CD era and went into the online era, it's pretty much have been the same. There's really been no new development on how servers work, outside of seeing other projects, not necessarily related to games, but seeing projects push their servers into a cloud or having some type of cloud system that's storing the information. But I think at this point, we're moving into a new era of games, and games should be able to continue to develop and move into the era of letting the players have some type of ownership within the project. We're already seeing this happen in the music industry with independent artists. Artists are now dropping NFT albums, and everyone that purchased the album now owns a piece of it. So the mechanical royalties that the album produces normally would go 100% to like the artist and to the producers. But now, if I purchase this NFT project, I own a piece of it. So now, when the album makes money, I also make money for owning a piece of the project, and it gets shared amongst everyone that owns the project. And I think that's where the money goes to keeping these servers online. It's just an
I
idea.
think I think I gave out the playbook here. I'm gonna stick in the camp of put it on a USB drive. I think there's enough memory in terms of, and if the argument is purely ownership, give me access to the single player game. I don't care about the online component and playing. I mean, like for example, we were playing Modern Warfare 2 just the other day, or K-Man and logged into Modern Warfare 2 just recently, and he was like, "Oh yeah, it took 5 minutes to find a match or whatnot." So the fact that people eventually will sort of die off um, and and no longer play the online components itself, I think is one of the one of the things that sort of make keeping the online component not really necessary, and owners can take their own route, and if they want to play together, I think the capability already exists in terms of like being able to play together, and if they want to host their own servers to play the games, that great. If somebody wants to pay and take on the cost of playing the game because they love it so much, and there's communities. I mean, that's what people were doing back in the 90s or whatever anyway. You know what I'm saying? People were paying for their own servers and hosting games and whatnot, and getting on games. So
that exists right now.
Right,
Funny
right,
enough that
right.
you mentioned Call of Duty. Uh, a lot of the older Call of Duties, they still work, they still function, and it's because people are hosting their own servers to play them. Right? I
Yeah,
know Activision ain't supporting it anymore, but that would
right.
be the route to go. I mean,
That's where you
it
get all
seems
the
as simple
hackers
as,
from.
hey, listen, I'm not
Doing
denying
automatic rocket launchers.
that. I'm not
I mean,
denying that, but that is exactly what they need to do. I think when it comes to this whole keep games alive initiative or stop killing games, it's as simple as allow people to, like the single player portion of it, remove online access or online requirement. Right? If there's a multiplayer aspect to the game, allow people to host their own servers. It's as simple as that. All right. I
Makes
don't
sense.
think there needs to be anything else. What you're saying, hacker, about the thumb drive and whatnot, I mean, that just really depends on how big the game is. I mean, I don't think it changes anything whether or not it's digital or not.
well,
I don't.
I
I
made
don't
the
think the game stores are going
I
to be
think
going
having the thumb
away.
drive just makes the game last longer because you can damage a
yeah.
CD drive, a
Right.
CD.
That
Yeah,
was my argument as to why
yeah,
like the physical medium needed to evolve too, right? We used to have the cartridges
I
that we
agree.
blow into and whatnot, and then you
Well,
moved on to the
y'all were
compact
blowing
disc.
into them because y'all was messing up y'all cartridges.
Or whatever, but like we once that evolved, we evolved to the compact disc, then we went to digital, but we're getting gypped, man. I mean, it's like what cable is to Netflix and Hulu and all these other subscriptions. Like when you look at it, assuming that you're not like trying to run through gymnastics of trying to like use credit card points and features or what card that you have that gives you a discount or whatever on whatever streaming or what phone service is giving you free Netflix or whatnot. Like if you just pay for that stuff by itself, it's more expensive than cable. And I think everybody at this point realizes that. At this
Yeah,
point, most people are like, man, just give me cable back. You know what I mean?
at
And
this point, yeah.
digital is sort of that same quagmire. We not only are we giving away ownership of games we're sunsetting them and killing them off, but like we are also losing access to some of the games and killing off the medium, right? I mean, if you think about, for example, movies in the aspect like, okay, I want to watch a movie from like 1995 just because like what you remember all of the college movies or whatever from back in the day. I forget they used to run like all of like big summer movies and they were like box office hits essentially. I'm drawing a blank on some of the movies, but like
What did you say? Who's
they, like they were like a lot of like college based like not comedies really. Like they were like college based comedies and people would go to college, get drunk and do all this stuff and I'm drawing a
like
blank
like
on the name of
Ameri-
some of the movies.
American Pie.
man? That's all I was gonna say.
Yeah,
American
like for example,
Pie
like yeah, American Pie was like one of the big ones too, right? So
with Van
like those are
Wilder.
classics. Can I find that on Netflix right now? Can I find that on Hulu? Can I find that on Disney Plus? I probably can't. But like if I had a physical library, like and if the medium moved and allowed me to play it, right? And there's a name of a company that would allow you to like host your own server and be able to stream it and stuff like that. And I mean, people are still using it, but like there's plenty, there's plenty. I mean, outside of a bootleg version, there's plenty of ways that you can host your own stuff if you really want to. People do it. There's
Hey,
services
man.
out there that help you do it. So I mean,
Bootlegs are making
I
a
think
comeback.
yeah,
And just on the point of
Bootlegs
you
are
saying like
making
we're
a
getting
comeback.
jibbed,
yeah.
on the point of you saying like we're getting jibbed. I mean, it does seem like our brains are getting finessed the more I think about it. Because going back to the second point, like if I'm a collector, I can go back and own an Atari. I can go back and pass off the games that I played as a kid to my son. Compared to now, the age we're in, where it's like, all right, once the PS5 gets phased out now, and you've bought all digital the entire time. Now, what do you have to show for it other than just a paperweight just sitting there that you can't actually play? You can kind of just tell stories of, yeah, back in my day, we used to
Right.
play this game and that game and that game. But the finesse is you can play it because guess what? When PS6 and 7 and 8 come out, Guess what's gonna happen? Remastered.
Okay. Right.
We see what they love doing now. For the cheap price of a full price, like it's a new game, you can play the remastered version on this new console. So don't worry about that old one that you bought it like 10 times and you keep losing access because the system's gonna keep getting phased out.
We're gonna give you access again.
Full price
We're
again.
remaster.
Yeah. So I do feel like we're getting finesse now, like with the whole digital only thing and collectors wise. It's like, what are collectors going to show now? It's just like a screen, just a slideshow of the game titles that they purchased on their console. It's like you can't really show off your collection anymore now with all digital.
Yeah.
Bro,
So I will
they don't
say,
even give you a booklet, bro. They don't even give you a booklet in the games anymore.
Yeah, they don't even give
So-
booklets in the physical
Listen,
copies anymore.
I was lucky enough. You're lucky enough to even receive certain booklets in certain games, bro. You're lucky. You're lucky. But that's only because of small companies, of small groups of developers who say, listen, we really cherish and love video games. So you know what? We're going to put this game out and we're going to make a booklet for these guys. And we're going to actually...
I will say one small win for the consumer is like, PEGI versus ESRB, where ESRB is the Entertainment Software Rating Board that operates in North America, while PEGI is the Pan-European Game Information, and they essentially rate games, right? And of course, we have extensively talked about gaming and microtransactions. I think one small win is that PEGI and a lot of ownership rights and protections really are coming out of Europe, honestly, because PEGI is based in Europe, and both gambling and microtransactions are stricter, and they're introducing new sort of rules and regulations on gaming to kind of take a pause on some of what I think are potentially some of the more harmful stuff, or some of the more harmful behaviors, I think, that we're kind of seeing in gaming. So I think when we think about, where we can take some wins for ownership rights, a cutback on microtransactions, and kind of forcing gaming companies to really take a much more thoughtful approach to how they introduce and want to decide to scale in terms of the product that they're offering to the consumers in terms of games. Like, Europe is certainly like proving to be one of the forefronts on that battle, I think, when we think about ESRB and PEGI. So
Okay, so with the ESRB and PEGI situation, I understand that one of them, I think it's, who is it? It's PEGI that.
PEGI is out of Europe. It's the Pan-European Game Information.
Right. So I think it's PEGI that is like overhauling their system and changing how their ratings are and their risk metrics for the games. I think they're changing.
Yeah, that's one of the core.
From, like, let's say like Call of Duty, or something even like a Grand Theft Auto, where it's rated like an 18 and above. But I think they're changing their ratings to like a 16 and above now. So what do you think about something like that, where it's like, being 16, I'm going to say I was playing GTA well before 16, you know what I'm saying? But, going into the store here and they say, well, you need to be 18 or older and have a parent buy the game, versus, oh, you just need to be 16 and older to buy the games. Like, what do you think?
Right now it's 17 for the rated M games. You have to be 17 or older to buy them.
Okay.
Yeah, I think one of the core difference though is the fact that PEGI is now taking into account if a game has a ton of microtransactions and you have to buy, after you buy the game, you can buy more stuff within the game, and it's related to microtransactions, and it sort of resembles a lot of like gambling and slot machines, like we talked about. For example, Call of Duty having a lot of like neon bright lights and things like that. Like those are kind of
isn't
the same.
Isn't that like a randomized? They're saying if it's a randomized loot box situation versus saying this pack or whatever this cosmetic kit is, this is what you're getting in it. This is how much it costs. I think there's both of those.
That falls back into the gambling aspect, right? Because like you don't know necessarily what your actual chance of actually winning it could be extremely low, so that like it could be extremely low and it's just like a slot machine, right? Like you're
What
pulling
if
on a little
they?
thing, you don't know what your actual chances are. You could keep losing, but it requires you to continue to spend a lot more money, and then it becomes a lot more
What
potentially
if?
a bit predatory from the perspective of like loot boxes, and that's I think the consumer protection that's sort of happening there, and kind of forcing companies to be a little bit more, either be a lot
Transparent.
more upfront and more transparent in terms of what they're trying to your actual chances of winning that loot box is, or they're gonna up the rating on the game to force people to, hey, be more mindful of when you buy this game, because if you decide that you're going to buy this game or you're going to let your kid play this game, know that it has some potential predatory behaviors in this
I've
game. So we're going to
I've
rate
seen
it
some.
at more mature than.
I've seen some companies actually release the statistics, like the percentage of you gaining things from a loot box, right? Does that cover them if they just say, hey, if you're going to buy this thing, there's a 2% chance
No,
that you're going to get
and
it?
and I don't, and because a 2% chance. I mean, okay, and sometimes do they actually show it? Is it third party
Yeah.
companies or is it the
No,
actual
no, the
No,
company?
no.
actual
Some
company.
companies have to release it. Like
Yeah.
Apex was forced actually to release the information on how what's the percentage of you getting an heirloom. I don't know. I know you guys don't really play Apex, but on Apex, most of the characters have like a specific weapon heirloom, and there's a chance to get it in the draw system. But the thing with Apex is you don't have to buy the loot boxes. They're you get them by just playing the game. If you want to purchase it, sure, purchase it, but your chance to getting the heirloom doesn't change whether you purchase the loot box or if you earn it just playing the game. It's
I
still
would
under a 1% chance of getting one
I
randomly.
would argue if it has that core system in it, I think PEGI should flag it higher. In terms of their rating, like it's not safe for a 10-year-old to buy. It's not safe because it
Yeah, but why
has
would where is a 10-year-old
gambling
getting
be,
money to
So,
gamble on loot boxes?
from the
yeah, I
from
was
the
about to
parents,
say.
but it might
What
not
do you
necessarily
mean?
from the parents, man. Like I mean, it's to say like Nintendo, right? Like your kid comes to you and says, "Oh, I want to buy this game," and you might put
No,
your kid on an allowance, or like, and what if your
no.
kid,
No,
like
no,
if your
that's right.
kid, if you
No,
put your
Billion
kid
is
on an
right.
allowance, if you
Hold
put,
on,
let's say
what?
you have your kid on an allowance, right? Like you put no no guardrails on what your
But
allowance,
why are
like
we
what
not
your kid
putting
can spend
guardrails on our children for
Yeah,
on
exactly.
on what they can buy, for example, like if they decide to buy a game or whatnot. Like when I say buy a game, I mean if they buy a game and they want to buy things in the game. I mean, you
no?
like some
You want all
like
right? So
believe it or not,
you want
some
to know?
parents are not probably doing that.
That's
That's their
understandable, but you
problem.
want to know why I'm saying that because I have two nephews and they're fairly young, 7 years old and like 5 years old, and they play Roblox. There are some parents that pay for like the monthly subscription for Roblox so they get Roblox points or whatever so they can buy items. But my nephews, they don't get that. And they say, hey, I want Robux to buy this. No, play the game. You don't need Robux to enjoy the game, to buy other items. But if I wanted to gift them some Roblox, sure, because I use the money out of my pocket to give them to purchase an item. But they don't get to make the decision to say, I want to buy this. You got to buy it. LZ, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, just I disagree as far as their access to it. I think this day and age, you can walk into a CVS and get a PlayStation card and load that up or a Roblox card. So truthfully, if you give them allowance for lunch, they could be going to school and pocketing that and figure
Yeah,
out a way. I mean, if they're old enough,
yeah.
stop by CVS, grab a Roblox card, and now they have, so
I
it's
think
possible to do it
I
without
No,
think
giving
I
them.
there's
think the
there's a little
rating
bit
thing.
more to that.
I think specifically the rating thing here though is much more at informing parents who aren't gamers and didn't grow up gaming like we did, who have kids who may be interested in gaming, and providing that protection to not allow your kid to get introduced to these gambling behaviors right? You know what I'm saying? Like that's really detrimental to a kid to be introduced to these gaming behaviors very early on as a mechanic that they should have the forefront to. And so if you put that label and say, okay, you're buying your kid this game, know that we have rated it here for this reason. And that should be a red flag to say, man, why is this game? Why is Roblox rated 17? All I saw was little blocks of whatever. Or why is, some other cartoon game rated this thing? That should raise the red flags. And you should be, as a parent, really be questioning like, hey, like this thing is rated at an age that doesn't seem to add up to what I'm seeing on the cover.
I agree with
really quick, but just my thoughts on it really quick. I do agree that these things should be flagged because I know grown adults who can't control themselves who are addicted to slot machines, and these in my opinion are like slot machines. Some people that are addicted to these slots are addicted to the unknown, the thrill of I might possibly get it, but I cannot, and the dopamine level spikes. And to be training a little kid to get these dopamine level spikes and playing slots at that young age, I think as a parent, I'd want to know if they're having these practices in there. I wouldn't want to be training my kid with that. So
I understand that.
I 100% agree. That's pretty much what I was going to say. Is like they should be definitely labeling those type of things because that does change what the game is quite a lot, and especially the effects that it has on children. But outside of that, I don't see anything else that can be done outside of letting people know what it is. What you guys were saying earlier about somebody can just go buy a card and buy something, technically true, but also at the same time, you should probably know what your kids are doing.
I agree with that.
Especially if they're online. I'm not like the way that I see it. You need to be the parent. It shouldn't be some company parenting your children on what they play. So hey, if you give them access to it and they get into it, that's on you.